Hey guys, and welcome to Get Life Podcast Kunai. I'm your host, Bish, and today I'm joined by, as always, Joe.
Hello.
And Kevin.
Sup, guys?
Yeah, so this episode we're talking about Accel World, so let me just give you a little bit of an overview of that. Accel World is a science fiction, action, and cyberpunk anime based off a light novel written by Reki Kawahara, and if you recognize that name, that's the same woman who wrote this light novel for Sword Art Online. It aired during the spring-summer seasons of 2012, much like Sword Art Online as well. That's kind of weird. It ran for 24 episodes, split into two cores. Accel World was produced by Studio Sunrise, the same studio who are well known for Gundam, who are also well known for Tiger and Bunny, and of course, number one anime, Love Live.
So, for you new guys, you're joining us for the first time, Get a Life Podcast Kunai is a monthly anime discussion podcast under the Get a Life group. Due to the nature of the discussion that we have on these episodes, we cannot avoid spoilers for the shows to be discussed. For those of shows that are based off of an existing work, much like this, Accel World is based off of a light novel. So whether it's a manga, light novel, or some other media form, we aren't covering the source material for those. We can be found on Stitcher, iTunes Store, and Google Play. If you'd like to recommend a show for us to watch to make an episode of Kunai on, send us your suggestions on Twitter at galpkunai or by email at galp.pea@gmail.com. However, we ask that you only suggest shows that are at most 30 episodes. Also, if you like our content, you can support us by checking out lootcrate.com/kunai.
So, first thing I want to get into straight away is the first impressions of the anime, and I'd like to start first because there is actually a very interesting story about this one for me. As you guys know, this is actually a fan suggestion. It's not something that we suggested. So I was very happy when I saw this because Accel World was an anime that I've been watching on and off roughly 6 times. I've been dropping it always at the same sort of episode. I was initially introduced to it by a guy called Accel World on YouTube. He's a guy that basically does abridged versions of anime, and they're quite more so comedic and such like that. They were very funny. So I watched it and I was like, oh my god, what the hell is this anime? There's a fat kid as the main character. I want to see this, because usually we don't see, fatter main characters as main characters. They tend to be, chiseled bodies and, like Nagisa and such. So this is kind of a rare occurrence. So that kind of attracted me to the anime. Initially when I was watching it, I always kind of dropped it within the first kind of 2 episodes because I found it incredibly boring. There is quite a lot of backstory, and then after, I think when I got to the 3rd episode, that's when I was like, I'm gonna keep watching this anime, because the 3rd episode's where all the action happened, and it just got me hooked from there. And it was just like, oh my god, there's so much mystery behind this. I just want to know more. I want to know more about the I was gonna say nerve gear, but I mean neuralinkers. I want to know more. How do they work? How did the burst link start, for example? That's what I wanted to know, and I wanted to know that, and I knew the only way I was going to know that was through the anime.
Yeah, so Bish, I have a question. So you dropped it like 6 times, right? Which is, for me, because I usually, if I drop an anime, I don't watch it again, but this time around, you continued, right? So is it because, something improved later on, or is it just because it was suggested?
No, it's very odd, because it wasn't the fact that it was suggested on Kunai. Fun fact, I was actually watching this in my own time. I got into maybe about 7-8 episodes, and then I got an email saying that someone wanted this on Kunai. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now I have more of a reason to continue to watch it. But by that point, I was already invested in the anime. The reason that I kind of dropped it and decided to continue it was because I dropped it the first time. I gave it a couple of months. I watched different animes. I think at this time I was watching Haganai Season 2, and then I was like, okay, I'll go back to it, but I can't just continue from episode 1. I'll watch episode 1 again. And then I was like, oh my god, episode 1's so boring and so whatever.
Oh.
So I dropped it again at episode 1. So at all of these 6 times, I just dropped it at episode 1, and then I would always come back to it. And then I just sat myself down and I said, you know what, Bish, you're just going to have to suck it up. Maybe the second episode's good. And then second episode was more of the same sort of thing. And it was only until the 3rd episode where I kind of got hooked.
Because, I guess they kind of saved the first couple episodes for introductions and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So was there a particular thing in the first episode that you really didn't like that made you drop it every time, or what was it?
I don't know. I felt depressed watching it because the Haruyuki, the main character, he's a portly gentleman. He's fat, he's chubby, he's cute as well, but it's the fact that, you know, he was, it's that scene with Chiyu when she brings the basket full of sandwiches, and then he throws it away, and I felt really sorry for him, and I was like, you know what, I can't keep on watching this, because if the anime is just more of this, I'm just gonna feel completely sad for the character, and I didn't want to feel like that, because I kind of relate to him a lot, and I know I get that feeling sometimes, and it felt to me that Chiyu was kind of condescending him, but that was before I even got to learn who Chiyu was, so that's why I always dropped it at the same point.
Bish, at one point when I was watching, like while you were watching the show, if you heard somebody's heartbreaking during that scene, it was probably me. It was probably mine, because when I was watching the one scene for, like, when Haru and Chiyu were in the hallway and Chiyu made that lunch, it's like, I'm like, this looks so happy, and like I knew it was gonna end bad, because I knew Haru was kind of in that state where he didn't want to talk to anyone, but like I didn't think it'd go as far as him kind of like slamming the sandwich into the wall. Like I thought
it wasn't just a sandwich. It was a
full basket,
like a big hamper of, yeah.
And then he was running away, and I thought it would end there. But then like they cut to her trying to pick up the sandwiches, and like you see her crying, and I'm just like it's only the first episode.
So did your heart break for Haru like Bish did, or for Chiyu? Because for me, like in that scene,
Kevin, you want me to answer that?
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Go.
Yes.
Yes. Wait. Yes. Who?
That's my answer.
Yes. Who? Joe. Come
yes.
on.
It means yes.
Okay, well for me, I was kind of shocked by Bish saying this Haru, because I mean I do feel.
I'm saying
it
was
right?
both.
Yeah, it's both.
I'm saying like if
they're both in like shitty situations in the first episode, right? But I felt so bad for Chiyu. It's like she seems so fucking nice, right? And it's like all the sandwiches are just on the floor, and you feel for her, right?
Yeah, like, well, as sad as that scene was, like, I guess like it kind of makes sense, because Haru, like, he kind of reveals that he didn't want to be pitied by his friends.
Yeah, that's where I was coming from. That's why I kind of felt for him. But Kevin, your impressions?
Yeah, so unlike Vish, I did not have any experience with this anime prior to it being suggested. I've heard some things here and there, but most of the time, like 99% of the time, I hear the words Accel World together. It's usually paired with, or even being compared to, another anime, and that's Sword Art Online, right? So, unfortunately, I think it's just a case where they're two admittedly similar shows in terms of like just the general concept, and so Accel World gets a bit less activity on Twitter.
I think it's also because a lot of people tend to think that one is ripping off the other one, when in fact they are in the same universe.
Yeah, and like we said, it's not only are they in the same universe, they're written by the same person, right? So I guess this author just really likes that concept, and admittedly, it's a very fun one to experiment with, right? So right from the get-go, though, I'm glad that I did watch this anime, because right from episode 1, like my impression of episode 1, I think is a bit different from Bish's. For the reason I think that they got off to a pretty strong start, right? Because right off the bat, I noticed that the design and aesthetic is really cute, right? Especially for kind of awkward saying this, right? Because it's not something I say often. For the protagonist, right? Haru. I mean, he's kind of like fat and chubby, but what gets you is when he transforms into a pig, right? And it's like the art style they use is really, endearing in a way. And also, it's not just the art style, but cinematography is something that I gotta mention as well, because right from the first episode, it hit me, with those landscape pans and those wide shots they're typical of Japanese animation, right? So it makes a very beautiful display of this cyberpunk world that they're trying to introduce you to in the first episode. In terms of story, I found that it was kind of weird. I'll tell you why, all right? So in the first episode, they throw everything at you, right? Like, he gets introduced. You're kind of like in Haru's shoes in the sense that you're just living your everyday life, and then all of a sudden, fucking Burst Link comes up out of nowhere, and it just puts everything out of balance, right? Everything is suddenly shoved onto him all of a sudden without much explanation. You don't know how this Burst Link program works. How does it accelerate time? How does it do this? How does it do that? None of those, like, the explanation for those are never really given. You don't get a clear answer for that, right? So it's interesting that they throw all of that at you, because it's a double-edged sword, in my opinion. Some people, they like it when there's a gradual build-up, right? And things are added on logically. And other people, they just want to get into the thick of the action right from the get-go, right away. And I think this is what Accel World does. It doesn't try to hide anything from you. Like, by episode 3, if I'm not mistaken, you find out that Kuroyukihime used to be one of the kings, right? So it doesn't try to be super mysterious. And that can be a downside for some people, but it can be a good thing for other people. And I think that actually quite liked it this time around.
So here's the thing about this, like it's a small little story. I found out about this show when I was browsing for different kinds of shows to watch back when I started getting into anime. I think it was like a little under 4 years ago. And so Sword Art Online was of course one of the first shows I've seen in anime. And then I looked into it, and then apparently the same person made Accel World. And like I liked the colors, I liked the aesthetics, and I'm like, you know what, this would be interesting. I don't know why I didn't get to it until now, but it's like I heard we were going to be doing it for Kunai, so I'm like, you know what, I think it's about time I stopped pushing this away and started watching it. And so I started watching it, and I'll be honest, like Kevin, you said that they give everything to you right off the bat, like, but in my opinion, the first few episodes kind of felt really slow. It's like I didn't really like the burst length didn't really leave an impact on me until like episode 4 or 5, to be completely honest. Like I felt like it didn't really offer much, and then like they showed like what it's really about once they introduced like what brain burst really is, which was around what was that, episode 4?
It was episode 4. I remember that. So that was when they Haru fought with Taku the first time. And it's interesting that you say that, because in a way you're right as well, because what I meant was that the concept of brain burst and the universe they exist in, you get all this info really quickly, and it can be kind of overwhelming for certain people, right, in the first 3 episodes. But you're absolutely right when you say that you don't truly get to see the real meaning behind it until episode like 3 or 4 or even 5, because it's mentioned in episode 3, but you don't get to see it in action, its full potential, until there's the fight between Taku and Haru, which is in episode 4.
It's like, because when they first introduced brain burst, like they first introduced burst link, which was like it didn't really hook me right away, I guess. Like it's like, oh, you can stop, like you can kind of accelerate and go faster than other people and like solve these problems. I'm like, you know, I guess this is how it is. Is there more that's gonna happen? I hope so. And like I said, like it was kind of slow for me, but I will admit it did start picking up once we got to around in like the episode 4 or 5, when they started talking about brain burst, and they started like introducing like the mechanics of brain burst and what, like the point system and all these different levels and the history behind these levels and the kings. It's like that was very engaging. Like I'm like, I want to find out what is this about these kings, like what happens when you're at level 10. It's like will we get to see the developers of brain burst themselves?
Yeah,
it's like that's what I really wanted to know as I was watching the show. But overall, like slow start, but it picked up and I enjoyed it.
I do agree that 4 and 5, starting from then, that's when, you know, the real action actually starts to happen. Think about it now. I think that Accel World actually reminds me of quite a few other anime that I've watched in my past. It just tickles that nostalgia bone in a way, you know, because with a battle, you know, it reminds, well, obviously for people who've watched Sword Art Online, it'll remind them of that because the concepts are very similar. But for me, when I saw, you know, the 1v1 fights and this point system and the fact they're in this gaming world, I was like, holy shit, dude, this reminds me so much of these older anime, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh, even Pokemon to a certain extent, Spider Riders, for those of you who've seen that in Canada. So it reminds me of these really, you know, kind of mainstream, drawn-out shonen anime, right? So, I don't know, that just kind of made it more endearing for me when I started watching. I don't know if you guys had the same reaction.
It's just like, I think maybe it was the previews that kind of prepared me for the whole, prepared me for Brain Burst and all the different fights. So I guess it kind of disappointed me that it took, 4 episodes to get there. But, when they got to it eventually, they did execute it well. Like they executed in a way that really made me want to learn more. So it did its job. And also, I also like to state, I love the nerve link.
Neuralink. You're getting confused between Sword Art and this anime.
Similar but different.
Yeah, the Neuralink. Like I kind of liked how it was incorporated into daily life, and like how during school you're looking at emails while you're kind of typing notes in the air, and then while you're walking around you see these different news articles, and you kind of, and apparently as this isn't first impressions, but it's later on when they kind of show that it also affects how you view the world.
And that's how you can tell that Accel World's a fantasy, because in real life, if that were actually happening, people could browse Twitter while at school and taking notes, nobody would be taking notes.
Going into that, let's talk about our favorite episodes and moments. I don't know. I want to really start first. For me, one of my favorite episodes was actually the episode that got me hooked, where that car kind of jumps in front of them, and then Hime is using her points. She pretty much her points go down to 0, and she uses her points to kind of save Haru's life. I love that episode only because you see the bond and it was like some sort of action. I was like, fuck yeah.
That's really interesting because for me, that's episode 4. But for me, that episode got kind of like the exact opposite direction because I love the first 3 episodes, right? I liked the way it started. I thought it started really strong, and after then, I see episode 4. There's this moment where there's a car coming towards him in slow motion, and she has to save him, and she goes before she sacrifices herself. She goes, "I love you," and I was like, this seems a bit too cliche, right? And I was like, what I feared was that I feared that they were going down that cliche path if, for say, she were to lose all of her points, and then she would have to be Haru's mentor without having brain burst herself. So I was really hoping they weren't going down that path, and I'm kind of glad that they didn't because that would have put a bad taste in my mouth.
Of course. For me, it wasn't the fact that they did this kind of thing, the whole romance cliche. That doesn't make a difference to me because I'm used to that. But for me, it was the fact that she used a new ability, physical full burst, something we've never heard of before. And I was just like, oh my god, if this is one of the abilities where she loses all of her burst points,
yeah,
what the hell? I want to know more. I want to know what other abilities people can have. It just that's the episode that got me invested.
That was the episode where it's kind of like, holy shit, this is getting really serious. Like, exactly. Because I actually legitimately thought she was going to die at that point. It's like, and you heard her kind of like when she's using physical full burst. It's like she kind of like, it kind of sounded like a clock, kind of like clockwork, where it's kind of cranking and like she's kind of slowly moving to push Haru. And I'm just like, it's like this is the most annoying yet the saddest way to die because you hear her cranking while like she's slowly approaching her death.
It's like dying in slow motion essentially.
Yeah,
it is true though because like before that episode, you're essentially thinking, what the fuck, burst link, or brain burst, it's just a game, what the fuck, right? But then out of nowhere, a car is coming towards them, and she uses the program to accelerate herself in real life to save Haru, and you're like, what the fuck? Right? Because you didn't know that was possible before, and it's clear to you then that this is more than just a game, and it has real life consequences.
Not to mention that she was going to lose 99% of her points to actually use physical full burst.
Exactly, and that leads me on to another point in terms of my other favorite episodes. I have quite a lot, and you can tell that I kind of enjoyed this anime. Another favorite episode of mine was when the first time he had his wings. I love that episode because it was just like, oh my god, that was kind of awesome. Only because it's just beautiful to see. It was the way it was just kind of animated and those wings kind of sprouted out. Kind of reminds me of that transformation scene, Joe, in Kill la Kill, when the final transformation that Ryuko goes through, and then she's like, Senketsu, and then Senketsu's wings come out and shit. That it reminded me of that.
Oh my god, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about too, Vish. Like, it was very, like, it felt very good because I like, Haru's like, like, he's aiming for something, and because like he believes so much in like winning and like defending Kuroyukihime, like he ends up sprouting these wings, and like he's flying towards victory.
I do agree that the fucking animation was beautiful for the wings, but one thing I never got was like, I felt it was kind of weird because it's like he was dying, right, and he's basically crushed by Taku, and he gets his wings, but one thing that confuses me is like, why does he get his wings? Because from my point of view, it looked like a Deus Ex Machina moment where it's just that he believes in the power of his love for Kurohime, and then wings appear.
Oh, because that was like an undiscovered part of his suit, which was created from like his past struggles and fears. Yeah, everything was implanted right away. It's like once Haru kind of had like the realizations he had during the fight with Takun.
It's something where the girl in the wheelchair kind of explained it later on, where she said it's not, your powers didn't come from the game. The game didn't give you the powers. It's something that you brought to the game. So it's the same sort of thing. The wings were in him. He just needed to have some sort of shocking moment to kind of activate that emotion within him, which obviously equipped those wings. That brings me on to another point with the woman in the wheelchair, Icarus, her nickname was. I love that episode as well. That was one of my favorite episodes. So one of my favorite episodes was when he got his wings and when he lost his wings and had to try and fight back to get that kind of wings. It kind of reminded me of this odd Dragon Ball Z episode, especially how you have you have that guy's tower, like I forgot his name, King Piccolo's tower, Dragon Ball Z. You know, he had to kind of, I'm not sure if it was King Piccolo, I can't remember. It was like this long tower in Dragon Ball Z. You have to kind of scale up to get to something. It was like a test of strength for me, and I liked that, especially with Haru. And you know, trying for a couple of days, and I thought, oh man, he was gonna get up that tower first time, and then it transitioned. I was like fuck. And then he fell down again. He tried again. Although what I didn't realize was that when he's punching it, he's still making holes in that wall. So why couldn't he just climb up a lot way before?
I think it's just he wanted to practice it, because he did puncture it the first time. But I mean, I guess in his position, if you're not consistently able to puncture it perfectly every time, I wouldn't risk climbing like 1,000-foot tower, right? It's funny that you mentioned Dragon Ball Z, because I don't know for whatever reason, this anime, it just tickles my nostalgia bone. I keep on thinking of things I've seen in the past, because I don't know if it's a fair comparison here, but Karate Kid, it's kind of like when someone gets his
oh my
ass
god,
kicked,
yes,
and then he fucking trains with the sensei, right? And just trains and trains
it's
and
this
trains.
whole Mr. Miyagi thing.
Yeah,
Oh my god. Oh my god. Are we talking about Karate Kid right now? Oh my god.
But it does resemble it quite a lot.
I know, it's just I'm starting to remember. I'm starting to have like shitty memories.
Wait, is there a Karate Kid anime?
No, there's no Karate Kid anime, and please.
No, please, no. I don't want to see one.
But going back to your point, that kind of training it's like a training montage in a way. It's kind of like, you know, when Rocky's running up those stairs, kind of like that. But you see more so of his struggle, because, you know, he's talking, he's giving you a monologue, and you see that a lot, and that's what I like. You know, that's why it was one of my favorite episodes, because you see him struggle, you see that payoff, and you know, it paid off with the most awesome thing. And also you got to learn more about the Icarus, and she's a very interesting character to me. So when I learned when she lifted up her skirt and then she had no legs, I was like, what? I was shocked. Clearly I was shocked by that. You know, I could imagine that. I thought, you know, she had no use of her legs. I just thought she was disabled. But the fact that she cut off her legs, that made it a bit more interesting as an episode.
That's pretty fucking intense. I don't know. It's just that episode, I think there's no actual action that goes on in it, because if you think about it, the plot, it kind of freezes as long as he's in that world, right? But I think that it's an interesting episode because it shows how to develop him. Because before that, you know, his wings were everything for him, right? And he lost that. And Kurohime was not there, right? So the two things that were holding him up, you know, his confidence in his wings that made him, you know, renowned in the Accel World, and his senpai, if you will. Those two things were stripped away from him, and he has to, you know, claw back. You know, he has to go back to zero and, you know, regain everything that he got up until that point. So that was really interesting to see.
Here's the thing, you guys know me already. I can't decide on a favorite moment for basically any show we watch.
It's the entire anime.
You know, it's not like that. It's more like, I think my favorite thing about like the episodes was like the theme of it, the theme of the entire anime was my favorite part of it, because like it talked about like all these different students who were struggling like with their pasts and kind of overcoming their pasts in Brain Burst. Because like for example, like with Haru, like he was always bullied, he always felt like a weakling, like he couldn't protect anyone, and that kind of reflected in the avatar he ended up quote unquote creating. And the same thing happened to Taku and what was his name? Naori.
Taku and
Naori. He was like the main villain at the end of the anime.
Oh, Nomi?
Yeah, something like that. Like he
Dust Taker, right?
Yes, like he was the one who copied. He was the one who took Haru's wings.
Yeah.
And like in the end, like Nomi Seiji, he was like he was talking about how he had nothing and how he ended up killing his quote unquote killing his own brother and forcing him out of Brain Burst just to take everything he had.
Yeah, this anime it can be quite you know, lovey-dovey and happy at times. It does take dark turns, and
like that entire second core was the most heartbreaking thing, because the entire arc, I'm just like, I want this guy to just die. I never want to see this guy. I want to see him on the ground with Haru putting a blade through his body.
And it delivered. I'm so glad that it delivered.
You know,
I think
I'm so glad they didn't go with like the whole like bullshit ending where it's like
you can redeem yourself.
It's like you can redeem yourself.
You know, it's like fuck you.
He's like, don't kill me. It's
Right.
like, and then Haru's like, I don't give a shit. You're dead.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, you know what? I'll talk about my favorite episodes right now. I'm surprised no one's mentioned this yet. All right, but we'll get into the characters. But I'm surprised that nobody mentioned episode 9 because that's not when she was introduced, but. That for me was is an episode of nice comedic relief because the interactions between Yuniko and Kuro were pretty damn funny, especially with Yuniko and her like split personality. You know what I mean? It was really funny. Another episode to note is it's not something I particularly liked, but you know I had to give credit where credit is due, and that's episode 11 to 12, where arguably that's the first time where you know the full potential of this anime is shown because there's a shit ton of action going on, right? And the animation holds up, and that's something I gotta commend because without the animation that the studio did, it would like the heart of an action anime that makes or breaks it is the animation, right? During fight scenes, and I think that they did very well in that.
One thing I wanted to mention, I'm assuming that's the one where they were basically ambushed by Yellow Radio, which I find is a really weird name. But I like that episode only because you get to see 2 level 9s. Or actually 3 level 9s fighting each other, and it was just like so magnificent, and you got to learn a lot more about the whole backstory about how the Red King was originally killed, and you got kind of I think that was also a really good episode as well, Kevin. I forgot about that one completely.
Some other things that I really liked was like is a bit of a strong word here. It's more like I found interesting because episode 14, like Joe, you said that, you know, during the entire second arc, it was really interesting. It was heartbreaking because you have this fucking asshole.
Oh, because episode 14 was when he was framing them.
Well, it was shit escalated so quickly because my reaction, I'll shamelessly say it, it went from, oh my god, bathroom scene, right, with Haru and Chiyu stuck together.
There's a really interesting story about that. So like, I was watching it, and then he was looking at the signs, and then I saw him going to the right, and like I was pretty sure he's going to the boys' bathroom. Yeah. And then like you look like a second later, and it says like the sign suddenly switched. I'm like, wait a second, is this a production error?
Yeah.
So it's like I go back, and then like I'm watching it. I watched it twice. I'm like, there's definitely something wrong here. And then I continue watching. I'm like, oh my god, he put a virus in Haru. Yeah, and like he altered his vision. I'm like, oh my god, that was really clever.
Like the reason I'm saying it's more of a notable episode than a favorite one because that ending of that episode was fucking heartbreaking. I wanted to punch that little shit in the face so bad, but it's just that, you know, something clicked in me, and I was like, you know what, shit's gonna get interesting now because we have a villain for once, right? Other than the Yellow King, but he wasn't really there for long. For the first time, we have this objective, right? And you feel for the character because you fucking hate that guy as well, right? So it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah. No, Kevin, I felt my fist slowly going towards my computer, like as I was watching him just be a huge dick to like the Haru and Chiyu.
I thought it's a very notable episode, but I thought it was quite smart the way he framed them. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, because he likes the virus. It was the virus that caused everything.
Not just that. It's the fact that, you know, he used it against Haru. You know, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna leak this, and people are gonna get you expelled in school, etc." And the thing is, he didn't even care about getting expelled. He just wanted the burst points. So it just made him seem even more evil. I was just like, oh my god, you're not even gonna expel him. You're just gonna use him as your lapdog. It just, I hate that guy.
Yeah.
Do you know the episode when I don't remember what it was. It was the episode when he kind of gets really angry, and you know how like with the incarnation system, like you can kind of like if you use it too much, then some evil darkness starts taking over you.
Yeah.
Like when I saw that, I was like, this is exactly how I feel. It's like just red, like a red aura just gushing out of me, and like me just wanting to just grind into his face.
No, I can imagine that.
It's like. No, like his eyes, like Haru's eyes, like he looked like he was going to.
And the veins popping out as well. It was just like, whoa, Haru, man, just calm down a bit.
Oh, you're talking when they rematch with them together with.
Yes, no, yeah, the rematch, and then like when he gets revived,
dude, that rustled my jimmies. Not gonna lie, because I was like, fuck yeah, eat shit, you little brat, right? Because he finally got screwed over by Taku, right? He surprised him. And then fucking I don't hate Chiyu for this. It's just that he got fucking revived, and then he immediately went back to being his cocky little self. And I was just like,
I guess you could say that was like my favorite episode. Like if I were to name a episode. But it was just really sad, like, because once he got revived, he's like, you know what, you guys didn't do anything. It's like you guys were never like able to be on the same level as me, and then he ends up killing Taku, and then he gets so mad they you can see his inner demons ready to just devour him.
One last thing that I'll mention in terms of our episodes, I'm terribly sorry guys, I just have a lot of particular moments in this anime that I want to talk about, right? And that would be episodes 18 and 19, and that's more so episode 18. I'll explain later. And that is in the second core, Dusk Taker core, and that is specifically when they kind of take a break from the actions right after what you mentioned, Joe. Actually, it's right after the rematch, right after he gets revived, and we cut to Kurohime, who's vacationing in Okinawa. Right, so I thought that, part of me was like, oh, we're gonna have to wait a few episodes to see what actually happens after that battle, right? But another part of me was like, you know what, I'll take it, because unfortunately in the second arc, what I found was that it was cool in the sense that, we have a direction, we know what direction the anime is going to take. Haru, he has an objective now, he has a purpose, he wants to get rid of Nomi, but at the same time, you kind of see these other characters that were prominent during the first half of the season kind of fade away from prominence. For example, Kuro, who's a main character, right? But we see very little of her just because she is away on vacation, right? So this episode, to take the focus away from all the drama and heartbreak that's happening back home and bring it to a lighter tone and develop Kuro's character, that's something I really liked.
Yeah. Honestly, okay, I did enjoy what the two episodes did, but I don't know, it just felt really out of place. Well, not out of place, it's just more like I wanted to get back to the action as soon as possible, because it was a sudden like change in direction.
Yeah.
It's like they were like, and they ended on a cliffhanger with Chiyu for some reason healing. Damn it, I keep forgetting his name. Like, you know what? It's because I've been trying to delete him from my mind because I never want to remember his face again. Yeah, Nomi.
Let's just call him Bitch Face. I mean, that's an appropriate nickname.
Bitch Sensei.
Bitch Sensei. Well, it wouldn't even be Bitch Sensei because he's the fucking junior, right? And he's talking shit. And he's always like,
Bitch Kohai.
Bitch Kohai. There you go. Whoever impose a name, Bitch Kohai, when talking about Nomi, alright?
For those of you listening, from now on, I'm just gonna call him Bitch Kohai.
That's his name. He's stuck with it, alright?
But anyway, it's like when when Chiyu was healing Bitch Kohai, like I was like, why did they suddenly change to Kurohime and her vacation? It's like I will have welcomed it if it kind of worked with the story, but it's just like they kind of stopped this and then went back in time to go over this part of the story. And I'm not gonna say it was unnecessary, because like it kind of plays into the end of it when you see Kurohime riding on the flying unicorn. But like it's just like there were a lot of ways they could have done that better, in my opinion.
What I wanted to say was I kind of agree with you in terms of how, I felt it was kind of out of place. Because it was just like, oh my god, so you're just cutting it and then we're going to go back in time. It's kind of like in Persona when they went back in time to see Nanako's side of the story. It felt like that, but obviously that was a cute thing because it's Nanako and Nanako can do no wrong. But
are you talking about Detective Nanako?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of that, the way they did it.
That was really good though. That was like the nice
It was, but obviously for this, it was just like, oh my god, I felt it was going to be a swimsuit episode or just something where it's just filler, and that pissed me off. And I didn't feel happy for the episode until I realized and I saw that there was other burst linkers in Okinawa. And the way it kind of led into the story was very interesting, because it kind of there were parts from that Okinawa story that if they weren't there, really wouldn't make sense.
She does ride in the on a horse that she got because of the item.
Yeah. Because of the item, and even in that episode, the I forgot his name. The screw, the guy that's the screw, basically. He's like, whatever his name is, Screw Guy. So Screw Guy,
his name is well,
I'm just gonna call him Screw Guy.
The name I got written down is Crimson King Bolt.
Too long, Screw Guy.
It's a different name in the sub, but like Crimson King Bull is like a some sort of official name. I
So
guess.
I'm gonna call him Screw Guy. So basically, Screw Guy, he basically just pointed it out and he said, "Hey, you know, with those reins, you can go in Okinawa and find like a flying horse." He actually said it. He was like, "Oh, we have some flying horses that you can just tame." And I was like, okay, she's probably going to use it for something. But the way the episode was structured was quite odd because you see her going on the school bus. And I was like, okay, so she's going to the school bus back to Tokyo. So why did she say in the final episodes, why did she say, yeah, I got a 15-hour journey. It took me 15 hours to get back to Tokyo on this flying horse. I'm like, what the fuck? That doesn't make sense. She was on a
Maybe
fucking
that
school
horse
bus
is just,
and we
no,
saw
but
it.
the thing is, Bish, with the way the burst link works and accelerating works is that in real time, because at the end she didn't pop up there in real life, she wasn't there with them. What happened was she was in Okinawa still, I guess, riding the airport or whatever on the bus, and she burst linked.
So when the hell did she burst link?
We have no idea.
Before
That's not mentioned.
that's what is kind of a weird thing in the story. Did she? I'm assuming from what you're saying, I'm assuming she burst linked before she got on that school bus back to Tokyo.
Yeah.
And then she, by the time she went on the school bus,
The only way that would make sense is that if when she's going on the school bus, that's the same time as the duel between Nomi. It's kind of weird.
It's a weird place in the timeline. I guess it's kind of like the fight. The final fight was in between, like when she was like burst linking, and when she was on the bus.
And the thing is that I have to mention is that Chiyu says that she spoke with her. We get no reference of this. She's like, oh yeah, Chiyu told me, and I came as soon as I found out. And I'm like, how the fuck did we know? I know it's done for suspense and etc., but we get no notation of this.
I guess the reason for that would be because like Chiyu kind of did this plan in secret.
Yeah,
so.
I understand, but I mean, like, she should have at
perhaps
least
it was,
gotten a message. You see what I mean? Like, we should have at least seen her. By her, I mean Kurohime. At least get some sort of message on her Neuralinker, even if it's not revealed that it is Chiyu. We should at least know that she's going from because it's a bit obvious that she's going to come and save the day. That's just how it is. But we should at least know that she comes in, that she's going to make her way to the final battle. That's what I think.
Perhaps it maybe the 2 episode part was maybe
I think
a
Bish,
section.
you mentioned that what the anime did was that they took a section from the light novel that was not actually there in the light novel itself, and they inserted it and they integrated it into the chronological events. Right, so that might be a little bit of a hiccup on the writer's part, not the original writer. I mean the screenwriter who adapted it.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's a bit obvious because it's just like, oh, okay, how come it just didn't necessarily fit?
You go from despair to like beaches and swimsuits in an episode, right?
Exactly, but I think they needed to have that because first of all, they couldn't have just with the way the anime was going, they can't have it a 22 episode anime. It just seems a bit weird, and it's also the fact that they can't just go straight into the ending. They wanted to build that suspense, so I'm assuming that's why they put those that jokey kind of summer scene in there. It also introduced you to a lot of characters within the light novel, because you're going to be reading this light novel. If you're going to be reading it in order, you're going to be like, okay, so where the hell is Screw Guy and Dolphin and the other one who I can't remember her name? Where are they?
We've been talking about this for quite some time now. This kind of like sudden transition from Tokyo to Okinawa, the sudden transition in terms of moods as well. And I think that this raises a very good point, right? Because this shows that both arcs, episodes 1 to 12 and 13 to 24, they have their own strengths in a way. And like I mentioned before, in the second arc, what I really liked was the direction, right? You had this clear objective that you could follow along with. But at the same time, what I didn't like was the characters. Like, if we did not have those 2 episodes in Okinawa, like fucking Kuro would be popping up at the beginning of the arc and then at the very end, and that would not make any sense, and you just be like, what the fuck, right? So without it, you're fucked. With it, there's also this, you're also kind of fucked because it feels out of place, right? So I don't know how I feel about the way that they handled that.
Honestly, one other thing about the story, it's something I really wanted to talk about, like, since, like, I finished the show. I want to say right now, I enjoyed what the story did. Like, I enjoyed, like, the directions it went in. But I feel like, as good as these stories were, I felt like the anime didn't really know what kind of story you wanted to tell, because I felt like there were a lot of things, like a lot of different things happening. It's like they were talking about the kings are, and how like if you get to level 10 you get like you get to meet the developers and find out what Brain Burst is, and like they kind of just dropped that all of a sudden.
See, that's the thing, Joe. I think I wouldn't say that's necessarily a problem with the anime. I think it's done specifically to get you engaged to a point where if there was a season 2, that you would go and watch the season 2, or potentially the film that recently released, or even read the read the light novel. I think that's why they've kind of jumbled everything in place, specifically with...
This is a logical conclusion I could come up with.
It's really interesting because, you know, the second arc, it's really story driven, right? It's focused around Haru and Nomi specifically. And the first arc I found enjoyable for different reasons, and it's that, you know, there was no clear direction in the sense that they're kind of going all over the place, right? You know, they're introducing you to Burst Link, and then you meet that freaking bodyguard girl that you never hear from ever again, at least not in the anime. And then there's the whole thing with the fucking chrome disaster armor, which shows up in the rematch between Nomi and Haru, and then never pops up again. You know, so there's these for the first half is like these mini arcs.
You know, to be completely honest, I thought the anime was going to end with everyone fighting Haru.
Yeah.
Because he was possessed by his inner self.
Unfortunately, there's lots of loose ends.
Yeah, like it kind of...
It's leading towards that, but like I said, obviously there's so many they can do within 24 episodes. It's also the fact that this is an anime adaptation of a light. So the main purpose of the anime is to sell light novels. So I'm guessing they want to save all the juicy bit for the light novel, etc. Especially when they were mentioning parts like the nerve gear from Sword Art Online and stuff like that, and also how they mention the fact that they want to meet the developer. Now, this is a theory that I have. I'll go and mention it. I'm thinking that the developer is a character from Sword Art, or a character who was in, you know, Ancrad or whatever they call that place in Sword Art Online, who was actually involved in that massacre within that anime. The reason I say this is because why the hell would they have needed to have mentioned, you know, the nerve gear, or even the fact that the original author...
Well, it was mentioned so they could kind of talk about the retro technology.
Yeah, I understand. No, I completely understand that. But I mean, in terms of the author, she didn't need to make these two stories linked, but she did it anyway. So it makes me think that there is something
I get what you mean.
that links back. Do you see what I mean? Specifically because they're in the same universe, there has to be some sort of reason. So she's planned this out way before, because they were released pretty much simultaneously. So she knows what's going on, and I think we can only kind of find this out within either like a season 3 of Sword Art Online, or like a season 2 of this anime, which is unfortunate because it's never going to happen.
I do understand that, you know, at the end of the day, anime, just like movies and shows and music, they're art, right? But before that, more importantly, they are a business. And in business, it's all about selling those, making that money, right? Making those dollar bills, if you will. And even though it makes sense that, you know, they want to do this, they want to omit certain things, you know, kind of tease us to sell the light novel. You know, as a person that, you know, hasn't read light novels yet, and I'm not sure if they're readily available here in Canada, it's kind of like a tease, you know, and it's kind of annoying. It's understandable, but nonetheless it's annoying.
One thing I wanted to mention as well was that obviously we're not going to get any sort of resolution in terms of the end of these stories in terms of an anime adaptation, because they're done by different studios as well, and there's different licenses involved. So that's why when I saw the whole nerve gear reference, I was like, how the hell did they get past this? That's what I really wanted to know, but I'm assuming that's why they didn't mention more about it. They just got a Wikipedia page and they were like, okay, that's all we're going to talk about in terms of that.
One more thing that I want to bring up in terms of stories that I don't know if we haven't really mentioned this too much yet, but as enjoyable as it is to watch, I do feel that there are lots and lots of cliche moments, like lots of Deus Ex Machina in this anime. Like the first time that occurred to me was in episode 4, for example, when there's this textbook moment, you know, like pulled right out of Naruto, where Taku's fighting Haru, and they dive towards each other, and right, and they're like, it's like Taku, Haru, right? They're screaming each other's names, they're diving towards each other. And I'm like, really? Right?
I will agree with you with the cliches. It's like there were a lot of them. To be honest, it got to the point where it was honestly getting a little sick of it. But I don't know. There's something about it. Like here's the thing about the show. Like I don't know, maybe it was because I need to finish it for the recording, or like I really want to watch it. But I finished the show in 2 sittings. It he was engaging to me. Like I want to know what was happening next. And like I think those cliche moments kind of attracted me in some way. It was like something that the show did unique that I want to see again.
I agree with you because it's quite familiar to see those kind of cliche moments. But I'll agree with you, Kevin, in terms of the ex machina. I can't pronounce it, but you know what I'm talking about. Those machina moments, specifically towards the end when she was like, "Hey, my powers aren't healing powers. I'm not actually
surprise!
a healer. I can go back in time."
No, but dude, there's a better example of that though, where it's literally Deus Ex Machina. For those of you who don't know, Deus Ex Machina means God from machine, right? And that's because in ancient plays, if the author couldn't wrap things up, what would happen? A god would descend from the ceiling, tied by ropes, and he would solve all the problems magically, right? And a moment that made me pause and actually kind of like giggle, all right, was in fucking episode 19, where fucking Megumi, all right, it's during the Okinawa arc, when Megumi literally descends from the fucking sky.
She was the embodiment of a Deus Ex Machina. Like she just came down, she just changed the landscape.
And then just fucks off. And she just fucks off and never is talked about again.
See, this is the very interesting thing because this whole Okinawa scene came from a different volume of the manga. So it would be safe to assume that she's mentioned in volumes, maybe volume 6, 7, 8 up to volume 10. But obviously within the anime it just didn't work.
Yeah, no,
you're like,
what
who
the
fuck is this? Like I had no idea who she is before, and then somehow she has like she's got the ability to burst link, etc. I was like, what? And she came in randomly, and the way that the Okinawan kid was like, she was like acting as a guru, and she was like, although that is quite interesting because when Seiji he got his memory wiped and such, they were having this discussion about whether or not they can still access the brain burst program after it was deleted, and if they can still remember it on a subconscious level. I think that it kind of tied in because she got the necklace, and then she just said Megumu, and I was like, oh my god, what's going on with Megumu?
That's
what I wanted to know. I thought her name was Megumu. No, I swear her name was Megumu. Please tell me it was Megumu.
Megumi, man.
The fuck?
But
okay, no, you know what? It's Megumu. There's a lot of characters in anime called Megumu, so that's why.
Like my point is, like the cliches, like it's kind of like the thing you hate so much, but you can't really leave alone. Like you know what I mean? It's like I said, like I watched the show, like I don't know if it was because recording, like so I can take notes like a couple days in advance, or if I want to just watch it all in one sitting. I watched it really quickly, and I'm looking back and I'm like, you know what? Those cliches, like they were a little annoying, but like I love the characters so much that it's like I kind of couldn't hate them.
I agree completely. Like I do mention the cliches, all right, and I like a lot of people. I think that cliches and literal Deus Ex Machina moments are a lazy way of writing, but you can't really bring yourself to like hate the anime for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe this is because it reminds me of these older anime that I've watched as a kid, like Naruto and Yu-Gi-Oh. Maybe it's my nostalgia speaking, but for whatever reason, I can't bring myself to hate the anime for this. Yes, it's annoying and stuff, but I mean, and I do have to bring it up as a negative point, but it didn't ruin the experience for me.
So, speaking of characters like Megumu, aka Megumi, let's talk about characters.
My favorite character has to be Haru, like hands down.
All right.
I know it's a very like generic choice, but like I felt like I kind of related to him in a lot of ways. It's like when I was little, like I kind of know that feeling of. I'm gonna get a little personal here. I kind of know that feeling of being taken advantage of. It's like some people kind of knew me just so they can, like, for example, we were little, so it's like we were kind of immature about it. But like people like wanted to spend time with me because maybe I was good at something, or because like they wanted to maybe like take some snacks that I brought from home. It's like it was kind of
they're gonna take your Lunchables. That's what they wanted, Joe. They only wanted your Lunchables.
Like I said, it was a very like it's very immature, but like it kind of connects in some ways. It's like I kind of know what it's like to, and like it often, like I was like verbally bullied. Like I was often like insulted, like about like some things that kind of hurt me, a lot of things that were kind of meaningless, but I overreacted anyway. Like it's like I kind of saw all that in Haru, like, and he's kind of dealing with a lot of stuff. It's like I can only imagine how brutal it is to go through high school bullying, but it's like I could at least feel sympathy for him.
Yeah. that I definitely have to agree with. Like Bish, you mentioned it earlier, right? And I think we all kind of felt it when he first started this anime, because the first reaction you have to seeing the protagonist is like, what? He's really the protagonist? Because usually, you know, even in anime, there are certain body types that are overrepresented and certain ones that aren't really represented, and it's a shock to see that, you know, this guy, you know, this underdog is portrayed. Is it something completely unique that's never been done before? No, but I still think it deserves, you know, an honorable mention for being there, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because for me, specifically in Haru's character design, it was like, oh my god, I've never seen a fat character in anime. Bear in mind, a fat main character. And when I mean fat, I don't mean as an insult. I'm just, you know, he is quite a stocky character. Yeah. So with Haru, it's like even his eyes are different in comparison. He has very large eyes, very sort of Western eyes. You know how they kind of portray Westerners in anime? That kind of stuff. They've designed him cute on purpose. I think they've designed him to be a very lovable character, kind of moe in a way. Like I said, in terms of his character design, I kind of like it because it's very different. Because when we look at anime, a lot of the characters tend to look very generic, very similar, specifically background characters, etc. Even main characters, you would expect them to be very chiseled jaw. If you look at Cian Pyle, the way his body structure is, I would imagine that he would have been the main character. If I saw him first before seeing Haru, I would have imagined he was the main character, just on looks alone.
Like, I am Takun, and I go to prestigious junior high school in the middle of Japan. It's like those generic anime openings with the.
And he goes to a high school that was recently all girls until now. You know, like.
It's like he's running like the class with a piece of toast in his mouth.
Wasn't there an anime like that? I remember there was like some sort of anime where it was... Oh shit!
SYD!
It's SYD? No way!
I don't mean to go off topic, but have you guys ever read the There's like a little comic I saw online about a main character who was trying to avoid being the main character?
No, that's quite interesting.
It's like,
you have to send it to me.
I'll send it to you after this. But like, it was basically about like a girl who like there were all these different anime tropes where it's like the girl with pink hair who had a piece of toast in her mouth who was running to school and running to school late, and they see like the buff.
Is it Saikano? For whatever reason, that makes it think of Saikano.
I can't remember the name. I'll have to look for it again. But
wait, I think it's Senpai Club. From what you're describing to me.
Well, I mean, it wasn't made by like a Japanese writer. It was
it's made by some Norwegian people. I think they're Norwegian. Forgive me if they're not Norwegian. I think I know what it is, Joe. I think I've seen it.
Yeah, then like
I think I've seen it. The way you're describing it.
You see her walking in, like she's supposed to be really pretty with the pink hair, and then like you see like the guy who's really hot and like trying to ask her out, and then like she kind of just denies him outright and just walks away. It's like, that's so hilarious. And like ironically, like she's still the main character no matter what, since the whole story is centered around her.
I think we all agree that he's very hard to hate as a character, right? I think that they nailed the design,
because you want him to kind of succeed. You look at him, he's the underdog. You're like, you know what, Haru, I want you to be the best, like no one ever was.
Gotta catch him all. No. But you know, even though I do like his aesthetic design, and you know the fact that he's, you know, kind of fat and underdog, you can relate to him. He's very relatable and marketable. More importantly, for the business side of things, I don't know how many Howdy plushies there are, but I imagine something that would be popular in Japan. But other than the aesthetic design and his position as an underdog, I don't know how I feel about his character though, because although his physical design is a bit unique, I do find that he kind of falls into that category of character that's really, you know, he's kind of scared of everything, right? And he's kind of, dare I say it, wimpy in certain instances, right? And it's just, we've seen so many of those character types in the past, right? And for whatever reason, those never really amuse me. Like, it's not something that I personally connect with. What do you guys think? Did that bother you?
What, you mean like his appearance?
No, not his appearance, but like the Shinji syndrome thing that's going on, where it's like, you know, oh no, I need senpai to do this, I need senpai, and after like he gains some burst of powers where it's like, I believe in my friends and friendship and love, and then he overcomes the obstacles, you know?
I guess that did kind of annoy me, but something that was, I actually wanted to mention this earlier, something that was really admirable about the show was that Haru like really wanted to change, like because of the brain burst program, like he kind of realized stuff about himself and like how he wanted to like improve and like instead of just being the victim, he wanted to support everyone instead of like and support and protect them instead of just cowering and looking down all the time. So it's like even though he was kind of like obsessive with the whole senpai like situation, I do think he kind of improved as the show went on. Like at this point, I don't think he's kind of in that state anymore.
Yeah, he does develop. I'm not saying he doesn't. It's just that my initial reaction to his characters was like, oh no, you know. And for the record, I'm not saying that, you know, oh yeah, if you aren't super confident and you know this or that you know you're bad, right? Even in real life, I'm not trying to say that at all. It's just that, and it is understandable to a certain extent because you know, you don't expect an underdog to have you know the highest of self-esteems, but it's just something about that character type that I don't like and I can't relate to. I can't relate to his struggles, you know, being the underdog. It's just I don't like it when characters have very little self-confidence for whatever reason. Enough about Haru. I mean, he is very interesting, but there is the other, you know, protagonist that we gotta talk about, and that is Kuroyukihime. That we've been kind of slacking off on her name until now. But what do you guys think about her, like, you know, design-wise and personality-wise?
Yeah, she's a cross between Yozora and Nico.
What? Nico who? Nico Ni?
No, because like the color palette just reminds me too much of Nico.
Wait, no, Joe. What the hell are you talking about?
No, the color palette, like it's like the color, like I saw like the red eyes, I saw the black hair, and I'm like, I don't know why, like it's like because here's the thing, when I saw her, I'm like, this is Bish's best girl.
Yeah, dude, like I agree with Bish here though. Sorry, Joe. I agree with Bish because she can't be Yozora because she's not a bitch. I'm sorry. It's just that's how things are.
Whoa.
Oh, whoa. I went
Shots fired,
there.
Man.
Well, it's true.
No,
though.
I'm talking about her design.
Design-wise, yeah. Actually, she actually kind of, you know how she has those two strands of hair that kind of like stick up on her head. She reminds me of the president from SYD. Oh God.
I was gonna say the same thing, Kevin.
Bish, you've corrupted me.
You hit the nail on the head there. She does remind me of the president from SYD.
Oh God.
But what I have to say about Hime-sama. So I'm just going to call her Hime-sama now. She, as a character, she's cool. But for me, you know, her character design seems kind of, I don't know, it seems very generic.
It sounds like something you would like, Bish.
It reminds me of a character from Sword Art Online, but obviously they're done by two different studios. You know that she doesn't really necessarily remind me of Yozora because Yozora has a different kind of mindset towards her, and you know Yozora looks different as a character.
Well, I mean, yeah, like I was talking about character design. Like it's just like the colors just kind of blended. And I'm like, I feel like I'm looking at a cross between, like visually, I feel like I'm looking at a cross between Yozora and Nico. And like this is probably Bish's best girl with her good mindset too.
In terms of her, like she's a cool character for me. You know, I don't say I relate to her. She's very mysterious. I want to know more about her. She is that kind of mother figure as well as the senpai, which we hear a lot of. You know, like Haru reminds me of Aichiro from Free. Like Rin senpai. It's the same sort of situation. He always needs senpai's approval, and he's afraid of senpai leaving him. And it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up. You know, and it kind of puts a bad taste of Hime-sama in my mouth in a way, because it's just like, okay, so what's so amazing about her that you can't live life with? You were living life perfectly well without her, so why are you so obsessed with her?
I would debate that though, because what was he living life perfectly fine before that, being bullied and shit? I mean, she did save him from that.
That's true, but at the same time, it's like, yes, she saved him from that, but in a way he's in like some sort of debt to her, but he doesn't need to like fall in love with her and be like, you know what, I need you forever and ever.
I don't get as well. It's like, unlike Haru, that I can relate to a certain extent, I find that with Kurohime, you know, the main thing about her is that she's mysterious, and that, you know, drives interest. But at the same time, I don't get her. It's like, by episode 4, she's like, Haru, I love you, right? So it's like, why? You barely ever met him before? Like, because he hasn't met you before, so have you been spying on him? Like, what about him makes him...
And why did she choose him to give him the Brain Burst program? Because she can only give it to one person.
I'll tell you why. It's because the reasoning from what I got in the anime was, A, because, oh my god, your squash scores are so high, you have very good speed, and 2, my gut told me to. And that's basically
That's
it.
not acceptable for me.
Well, I mean, didn't she see the scores of Haru when he was playing that tennis game?
Yeah, squash. That's why one of the reasons she chose him, right? And like, I mean, I get Bish's like frustration with like that doesn't make sense. But more than that, like why did you love Haru?
I mean, they blatantly state it. It's like she saw like the scores and she's like, this person may have potential. I've never seen somebody so fast. And like she also you also need to take into consideration that she's seen Haru get bullied.
Yeah, but what I don't get is that they never interacted until the first episode, right? So and by episode 4, she's like, I love you, Haru, right? So it's like, when did you fall in love with that person? Was it just love at first sight? Because that's kind of, it's kind of a lame explanation from in my point of view, right?
Well, I guess it's because she saw like because she went into bullying, she kind of saw like the potential in Haru's character, and she also saw the potential in Haru's speed because of how.
Just because someone's fast is not a reason that you should be like, oh yeah, I love you. Like, Sonic is fast, but I'm not gonna go to Sonic on the first day I met him and be like, you know what, Sonic, I want to suck your dick. No, it doesn't work like that.
You just described one of the doujins about Accel World.
It's like because here's the thing, she was obsessed with like this program and kind of like finding out secrets. So I guess.
But how does that obsession translate into love, specifically within?
I don't know. Anime love is complicated, dude.
I find it such a lazy explanation. Well, in the very least, I guess we can be thankful she didn't be like, "Oh yeah, I chose you because you are the chosen one." You know,
if they did that, I would have just dropped the anime again.
I'd have been
like
like desk flipped. I'm like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Well, I mean, she technically said that. She's like, this is why I chose you. Like, he technically was the chosen one.
One thing I want to mention is that the characters have different sort of archetypes. Like, she's the very mysterious, motherly type. And then you have a character called Nico, who is very much so like Nico from Love Live. I don't know how the hell that happened, but, she's the very tsundere character. She wants to be like you and be like, hey, Oni-chan, whatever. But, when you piss her off, she's fucking angry. You know what I mean? And then, yeah. It's also one thing I wanted to mention specifically within the character design, and I don't think we've mentioned it yet, is not only their human forms, but their accelerated forms when they're in the burst link program. So any thought about the character design for the burst link versions of the characters?
For me, I find that it's kind of a hit and miss, right? Because some designs I really like, and again, for whatever reason, this might be intentional at this point. I realize, it kind of reminds me of these older anime because remember Screw Guy? Guys, remember?
Yeah.
In episode 18, 19? Fucking literally transforms into a transformer. I was like, into a transformer.
Oh, and the other girls, Dolphin and her friend, reminds me of the Power Rangers. I was just like, oh my god, the nostalgia now. Old school cartoons and TV shows.
That's probably intentional, looking back at it now. I mean, some of them look generic, admittedly. I think that Chiyu's design, and there's certain characters, like, Chiyu's avatar's face, how it's just like blank with like two oval alien-like eyes. It looks generic, in my opinion. Yeah, they reuse that facial design for like a lot of characters, so it kind of meh, in my opinion, right? Some of them kind of look generic.
I need to put this out there. The eyes. Like besides Haru, like he kind of had his own unique design because of his chubbiness and his eyes. But every time I saw like a character with like those weirdly drawn anime eyes, I'm just like, I feel like they're staring into my soul.
One thing I wanted to mention specifically about the character design is that because this was animated by Studio Sunrise, people who are really great in kind of animating Gundams and mechs and such, they did a great job of doing it. Like specifically, with the whole Transformers thing, and even the other, with Nico's transformation sequence. I was like, oh my god, that's fucking crazy. And one other thing I wanted to mention was their, Haru's and Hime's, other forms were very interesting because they kind of reminded me of Daft Punk. I'm not sure if you guys know who Daft Punk is, but they remind me of Daft Punk a lot. And I'm surprised that no one on the internet. Haru.
Who else? Because I mean, Haru, yeah, but like, I mean, is there anyone who reminds you of the other?
No, only Haru. But the thing is, with Hime and specifically Cien Pile reminded me of Sky High from Tiger and Bunny. Sky High.
Yes. Oh my God. Sky High. True MVP, man.
True MVP. And he's made himself like a cameo. And even Ash, that guy, he kind of reminded me of Marvel's Ghost Rider, which was really shitty film with Nicolas Cage. Let's not talk about it. But the design reminded me it was very reminiscent of a lot of other animations that they've done, as well as a lot of different American kind of influences as well, which is very interesting. So, favorite characters
for me. I mean, Joe already mentioned Haru was his, right? I can see why. For me, it's Chiyu. All right. I'll be real. I won't say best girl, but I'll say best character for me is Chi. Oh, okay. God, I have a feeling that Bish is gonna shit on my decision right after this. But before I do that,
I just want to know why.
for me, it's just that from episode 1, right, with her, looking out for her friend, going out of her way to make an entire basket of sandwiches for her friend, and it speaks to me. Right, as a Canadian herder. No, but seriously, it's just that her kindness, right, and her energy is there, right? She's that, I'll say it, she's kind of like that motherly figure, even more so than Kurohime, in my opinion, because her connection with...
I don't know what to say about that. She's not necessarily a motherly figure. She's more of the housewife figure. And we see it a lot. Specifically when she brings the lasagna home and she says, my mum put 95% in it because I told her it's potentially for my future husband. And then she started giggling and she looked at Haru. So it's not more of a motherly love. It's more of like a partner love. That's how I see it.
What I meant to say, so I agree with you there. What I meant to say is that I feel that, Kurohime, she is caring, but most of that, is directed towards Haru, in my opinion. Whereas in Chiyu's case, it's directed at both, not just one person. It's not directed just at, Taku, who's her boyfriend, effectively. It's also directed at Haru, and she develops a special bond. She really looks out for them, right? And she's willing to go through a bunch of pain to... do what's best for both of them. Like, she, teamed up with fucking Bitch Kohai to betray him in the end and, save the day, effectively, right? So it's her kindness that really stands out to me, right? And her willingness to sacrifice her own happiness for the sake of others.
I'd actually say Chiyu is my best girl.
Whoa, let's not jump the guns with best girl here, because I haven't said who my favorite character was.
All right, drop the bomb on us, Bish. I'm ready.
My favorite character is actually...
Don't say Bitch Kohai, I swear to God.
It's Haru. I have to agree with Joe on this one. I only say this because I relate to Haru a lot. It's specifically, he's a fat kid. I was a fat kid in high school. I went through the same sort of things in terms of bullying. So I related to him, and he was like, I wanted to root for that underdog. So I was like, fuck yeah, Haru, do your best, Ike, Haru-chan. Kevin, you know what I'm talking about. That was a free reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be honest with you. Haru is just my favorite character. I love his design. I love how he acts. I do admit that he is kind of not really confident, but I can understand why he doesn't have much self-confidence, because he's a fat kid. He probably doesn't have much self-confidence to begin with. He got bullied because of that. people constantly mock him. Even, and the only person that kind of had faith in him was Chiyu, and Talcon, and also the Hime. They're the only 3 people that really had faith in him. And you see him grow throughout the anime. He had the most character development. That's why I would say he's my favorite character. In terms of best girls, though, I'm going to start first because I think you guys have really interesting best girls. So I just want to drop the bomb. It's actually... Do you really want to know? I don't know. I will say...
It's Nico. I know it's Nico. All right. Just go on with it.
It's actually Chiyu.
Oh,
it's actually Chiyu. The reason I say this is because Chiyu... All the points you've mentioned, that the whole housewife kind of motherly figure that she has, the fact that, she sincerely cares for all the characters. And I don't know, I think she's very intelligent. You wouldn't think so at first glance. You just think that she's just a caring character and that's the end of it. But, she's got that intelligence to kind of trick Seiji in a way.
I thought you mean Bitch Kohai.
Yeah, Seiji. So she...
Who are you and what have you done with Bish?
So she kind of tricked him in that way, and I liked that. I was like, wow, that was very interesting. Also because, she is quite funny. In most cases, the thing where she was asking for the ice cream when she was angry about the whole verse linking. She's like, oh, you guys have to get me ice cream in all these different flavors. I thought that was hilarious. It's also just her character design and that weird kitsune. It's kitsune. It's not cat. It's fox. So it kind of reminded me of the...
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That was a fox?
Yeah. That's a kitsune.
Oh.
It's a kitsune mask. It reminded me a lot of Hentai Prince and the Stony Cat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even her character design is very reminiscent of the characters within Hentai Prince and the Stony Cat. It's also the fact that, multiple times in the anime, I'm gonna sound so lewd. There are times within the anime where you see some things, especially the shower scene. I'm sounding like a big pervert here, but...
No, Bish, don't worry, because you merely adopted the lewdness. I was born in it. Molded by it.
In all seriousness, there's also a big reason, like, Chiyu is like, no matter what, she will help you. Like, she will help the characters in the show. Like, for example, in that instance, when it's like, when Chiyu takes takes Haru like into the station to shower, and like she just like hides him like in the wall so that nobody sees him. It's like she didn't really care about like what was happening inside the shower. Like she kind of just like, you know what, I'm gonna protect Haru and make sure like nothing happens to him.
And she's got his back as well. 'Cause as soon as Bishkohai, threatened to blackmail Haru, she was there. She's like, you know what, I'll call you out on your bullshit, man. I'm not gonna let this happen. Right? So she has his back, and she has Taku's back as well.
Right, like she didn't care about like her own dignity or her own pride. It's like she's like, you know what, I'm gonna protect my friends like from like being falsely accused of something he didn't do.
So would you say that she is your best girl, Joe?
I don't know. Is it not obvious already?
It's because of the undressing scene, isn't it, Joe?
No, actually it isn't.
Oh, okay.
Like it's because she's actually a character who has done a.
Can I say that scene made me uncomfortable, and it did not influence my choice in best girl.
I was going to say that I don't really have a best girl because, I mean, of the choices in here, I mean...
No, but I think I've told you about this before. Like, I really like female characters who just don't give a damn. It's like characters who kind of, they're like, you know what, I don't really care about what's happening to me. It's like I want to help everyone else, and it's like she kind of thinks about everyone else before herself. It's like that's why that scene really like made me feel good. It's like, you know what, because like if you walked to the shower, naturally you'd be like, oh my god, why are you in the shower? But like, you know what she did? She put a towel on herself and she stuffed him inside the shower with her so that nobody could see him inside and have him accused of doing anything like being falsely accused of doing anything pervy.
I was about to say that I don't have a best girl because, of the choices, I think that there's no fair contest, right? There's only like Kurohime and Chiyu, right? Because I mean, Nico, she kind of disappears for the most part of the second arc, unfortunately, so you don't really see much of her, right? So between her and Kurohime, and I've already said earlier that, Kurohime, she's okay, I guess. It's just that I can't really relate to her decisions, right, and her thought process. So Chiyu, she's the only real choice here, right? Which is, aside from everything that I've already said and you guys have said, one thing I'd like to add that makes her a likable character is that you can sympathize with her, right? Because I don't know, it's just that seeing her in pain in that second arc, being put into a corner and still sticking up or standing up for her friends, it's something that you can relate to and something that you can admire in a character. But we've fangirled or fanboyed over Chiyu for quite some time, though. Other than best character, best girl, do you guys have a least favorite character? Because for me, I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on that.
I think we can all agree. Moving on, because we've mentioned our hatred for, Bitch Kohai. We've even called him Bitch Kohai.
I don't think we need to stick on that for too long. You guys know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so I think we should move on quickly to the audio-visual opponent and kind of like what we thought about the intro music and such. I really want to get into this. Like this intro music, I'm talking specifically, I like both of the intros. I also like both of the endings. But my favorite piece of music in terms of the intro music was the first one. The it had this weird 90s kind of electronic theme to it. Like, obviously we've been talking about nostalgia. Nostalgia is running through everything within this anime, even the music. It kind of reminded me of this kind of old school Gundam music. I was like, fuck yeah. I was just like getting really hyped. It's like the music that I listen to when I want to get motivated, when I want to get pumped or do some exercise or something like that, or even when I'm editing, I listen to music and it's just the first OP for the Accel World, to be honest.
Well, I agree with you there, because the nostalgia doesn't just come from like the music in the first and second OP. I think it's in everything, but in the animation for the first OP in particular, I think it's an important thing to mention, because just the way that they animated it and the scenes that they chose to include in the first opening, especially the Taku and Haru fight scenes, because it just them in their avatars and their suits, it reminds you of those older anime, right? Because Power Rangers comes to mind, their suits and stuff, bit of Transformers, so there's a bit of everything in there.
I like how you talk about anime and then you're like Power Rangers, even though that's a live action.
Yeah, I know, but it's...
I'll have to agree with Bish. I did enjoy both openings and both endings very much. But I think I'd say the second opening is my favorite, because I like the mix of both male and female vocals.
The female vocals for that. Oh, the male one I felt it was kind of out of place, because it starts off.
Yeah, it kind of jumped around a bit, but you still heard it was still prominent throughout parts of the song, which I like.
The beginning of the second OP in particular is what really makes me like it. It's just the female vocals at the beginning. It has this kind of tragic feel to it, but it's really well done. And after that, something like the male vocal comes in, right? It's all like really fast. I mean, that is good. It is good to have energy in an opening. It's just that it felt kind of out of place and it contrasted with the female vocals. But I still liked it. It's my favorite out of the two.
Another thing I wanted to mention was the anime's OST, specifically within fight scenes. It may have seemed generic, although there were some moments where I kind of picked up, specifically in the fight scenes, where you got that kind of heavy metal coming in. You know, that kind of Naruto fight scene kind of music? Although it wasn't the same, it kind of reminded me a lot of those Naruto fight scene music. And also Dynasty Warriors as well. Same sort of thing with Yamada-kun in a way. So it kind of had that vibe to it, which was very refreshing.
You mean like the
yeah, that music there.
For me, I don't know. In terms of OST, I found that there's this one piece in particular that kind of stuck out. I can't put my finger on it, but I think it was the one that played while Kurohime was talking about her past as the Black King for the first time. But other than that, I found that it was solid, but it was nothing like that I would download that stuck with me. You know, for me, it's an interesting case because usually it's OSTs that I'm interested in, right? But in this case, it's really the opening and endings that stuck with me more so than the OST itself. And in fact, in certain cases, the OST it stuck out for the bad reasons. And the reason I say that is because if you guys remember, in the final confrontation when they meet Bitch Guhai in the Unlimited world, right? There's this really heavy dubstep music that's going on, alright? And I'm not shitting on dubstep here, right? I mainly listen to techno myself, but just sometimes it feels really out of place. And I don't know why, but people have a tendency in anime more recently to really overuse dubstep and use it in everything just because it's popular with a certain demographic.
I mean, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Pillar Men theme from Part 2 of JoJo. It's like the one that kind of has like the ancient hymns mixed with dubstep.
Yeah, it's kind of like bitch tapping in the chat right now.
I guess that's why I liked it. I guess it's kind of like with like the menacing enemy coming towards you and like hearing the dubstep and like the big like orchestrated.
Like don't get me wrong,
tracks.
dubstep can be used effectively. It's just that sometimes it feels out of place, right? Like in Bish is doing a comparison here, and I agree with him. And it's like that fucking moment in I think it was Free Season 1, because Season 2 of Free had a better soundtrack. But in Season 1 of Free, there's a few moments where there's like, you know, they're on the boards, you got nowhere to dive in after, like, as soon as they touch there's this like heavy dubstep, you're like, Skrillex, drop the beat, and it just feels really out of place with what's going on the screen, right? So is dubstep bad by nature? No, it's just, I feel in this case
I guess if you mix it with the right music, then it could work out.
More importantly
well.
than music, in my opinion, it has to be used with the right moment as well, right? Because the coordination between audio and visual elements in anime, just like in movies, is extremely important, because the visual part, you know, it's what you see, but without the right audio complement, you can't deliver the right emotions to the audience.
You actually just reminded me, Kevin. I also wanted to say, I feel like the ending, like in the second core especially, like I feel like the ending just did not fit with the moments.
What in particular?
It's like, you know, like during like the final confrontation, for example, it's like when they had that bright music playing, and like it just like they ended on a cliffhanger, and then you have the cheery music when something really bad's about to happen.
One thing that I do know about the ending, though, like it kind of agrees with what you say, but it's just the payoff, in my opinion, was worth it, because, you know, the entire time I was thinking, you know what, fuck this Nomi guy, I fucking hate him, right? And then you get that beautiful moment, and I feel kind of bad about saying this, but not at the same time, because he's there, he's fucking crippled, he's crawling on the ground, and he's begging for his life, right? And for them to forgive him, and they're having none of that shit, you know? And that moment is just so satisfying. It made all those moments of, you know, torment that you experience with the main characters, it makes all of it worth it. You know, we've talked about art before and design, but one thing I want to know your opinions on is the animation. Do you guys have any thoughts on the way they animated the fight scenes?
I have to jump in here. I think Studio Sunrise have a great portfolio in terms of what they know how to do, and they know how to do fight scenes very well. I've noticed in some parts that they were relying a lot on 3D animation. That was towards the beginning where, you know, he was fighting Ash, and, you know, when he first kind of got his avatar, they kind of used some sort of 3D rendering techniques, which I've noticed a lot, like glares and stuff like that. And then it kind of died out. It was just like, oh, okay, so you wanted to show off that 3D rendering, and then you just stopped using it, when we saw...
Budget just went to shit after that.
Which is surprising, because these are Studio Sunrise, the people that have done Gundam, and they've done it really well. But other than that, the animation looks very good. The way the characters kind of pop, the colors that they use. I've noticed that they've used a lot more darker colors, although we do see when the scene transitions, like when it goes to beach and such, it turns to be a lot more brighter and a lot more kind of primary colors. But in terms of the actual color palette they use within the animation and such, there's a lot of green. A lot of green that I've noticed within that. I don't know why that is. Even with Kuroyukihime, there is a lot of green. I don't know why the hell that is. It's also the one thing I wanted to mention was the particle effects that you see during the transformation scenes. Specifically when the Red King was transforming, you see the smoke that's coming out of the machine as she's digging into the ground. You see that dirt kind of flying about. It was very cool. I like.
Right. I actually do want to mention something about the animation. Like, I did like the animation. It was like, I don't want to say it was anything like really special because I feel like I've seen it before, but it was nice for what it was. I do like because here's the thing, I'm a huge fan of like technological eras in anime, where you kind of like you're like it's a society that runs on technology. So like when I really want to talk about the Neuralink, and like I really like how they kind of showed it in the animation. Like they showed like windows being moved around. Like it reminded me of Google Glass.
That's basically what it is. It's Google Glasses, but without the glasses.
It's like Google Necklace coming soon in 2040.
Let's be honest. Other studios have done this, more so AIC as well with Sword Art Online. It's the same sort of thing, but I would say that obviously because the Neuralink is based off the Nerf gear, the Nerve gear. So
oh god, I just picture that now, like fucking season 2, where they replace everything with fucking Nerf gun fights.
Oh, imagine that! That would be beautiful. But you got the Nerve gear, so that's kind of based from. The Neuralink is based from that, so I can imagine why the animations would look similar. But it's kind of nice, as you mentioned it, because we rarely see that in anime. We rarely see kind of heads-up displays and things like that. And there are moments where you see the characters within their suit, as they're talking, etc. Quite cool. Like you
exactly. It's like, well, I guess I could say that the thing I liked about the animation, like it's a weird thing to say, but. It's like I liked how the technology kind of flowed. It's like I liked when they showed the UI. I liked how they were moving, they were moving windows around with their hands, like typing into the air to kind of input notes. It's like answering calls, like getting money put into their Neuralinks. It's like downloading games so you can play them in virtual reality. It was crazy.
What I have to say about animation is that I think it's good. It does what it needs to do, right? It does its job, and that's important in fighting anime. But I say that it could be better, right? Because in fight scenes, I think that it's just that as a gamer, this is especially pertinent. It's kind of like I had the impression that I was watching the thing in like semi-slow motion in certain parts of the fight scenes because they'd be moving really, really fast, right? But the animation would not keep up with that. It would look kind of like they were moving more slowly than they actually were, right? Whereas in, say, other anime, which I think do action very well in terms of animation, for example, Attack on Titan, when the characters go really, really fast during fight scenes and there's a bunch of clashing, it's very smooth. It's like 60 FPS versus 30 FPS, if you will, and I think it's the smoothness of the animation that could be improved, and that's preventing me from giving it, full marks. But it does what it needs to do.
I'll say overall, as far as fonts go, the technology goes, the animation style goes, I liked it for what they did, but I did not like how they did Brain Burst.
What in particular about Brain Burst?
It's visually it just didn't I didn't like how they didn't really, the font didn't look too appealing to me. The grammar, you noticed it very, very easily throughout.
Do you mean the aesthetic design for the UI of Brain Burst?
Yeah, design for the UI of Brain Burst. Okay. It's the font they used, in the fact that there were so many grammatical errors. I understand it's a Japanese show, but that's kind of stretching it.
I did notice that, but it's not something that bothered me too much because I know I understand that's a foreign studio, right? But more so, what I noticed about the design of the UI was the obvious inspirations that it took from games, right? Because if you think about it, it is literally Street Fighter 4's, Ultra system that they integrated into anime format, right? No, but I'm serious. With the killer move bar, right? The green bar that they have that charges up their ability, that it charges up whenever they take damage, when they destroy shit, right? So it's kind of like the super/ultra system that was in place in SF4.
But yeah, that was basically what I thought. Like the only real gripe I had with the animation.
Just on the back of that, I just wanted to know, would you guys like to see a second season of this anime? For me, I just want to get this started off. I would love to see a second season. My reason behind it is because the first season, well, this season of anime, we didn't get to see quite a lot in terms of the answers that we needed to know. I wanted to know more about Kuroyukihime. I wanted to know who is this person who created the game. And I wanted to see what I really wanted to see between this anime, but which I can understand makes it a very repetitive if they decided to do this. I wanted to see the battles between each of the king. But obviously, if they decided to do that within this anime, within this season, it would have been more so like No Game No Life, because then that's the same sort of story as No Game No Life. That's what I would have seen. I would have loved to see a second season.
Well, I mean, in No Game No Life's defense, it's like they still haven't gotten to
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that if they kind of done this whole, you have to fight all of these people to find out who this is. It also mirrors Sword Art Online as well, because it just feels like a very grindy process. It's like when you're playing an RPG, it just feels like you're grinding, and I'm glad that they didn't do this, but at the same time, I needed a little bit more of it, because I saw that battle with the Yellow King, and I'm like, I want to see more. And the issue is at the moment is that I don't even think the film talks about that. Because they've released a film recently in Japan about a month ago, but I'm not sure if the film talks about that. From what I know, the film is an original story and it has its own sort of light novel to accompany it, so I don't think even that will kind of doing that.
But the thing is, Bish, about as much as I want to see more things like the Red King versus Yellow King versus Black King sort of moments. You have to keep in mind that there is a peace treaty, right? So that kind of contradict what they've been saying, because they're like, from the get-go, the kings, they didn't want to fight. That's exactly why they established the treaty.
But this is more like personal issues. Like first of all, the Black King just
exactly
didn't even care.
The Black King didn't care about
the treaty, and the Yellow King.
Yeah, but that didn't start until she betrayed them and then went to hiding.
And then the Yellow King too didn't really care about the treaty either. The Yellow King was kind of just aiming for something.
Yeah, but he still had to go around the rules of the treaty, right? So it does have power.
The way the treaty works is that they're allowed to attack each other if there is revenge involved. So I can understand why the Yellow King kind of done that, but at the same time, to kind of counteract your point there, Kevin, it's needed, because how the hell is she going to get level 10? The only way you can get level 10 is if you kill the rest of the kings.
Oh, I thought you meant that they should have battles between the kings set in the past.
No, I meant...
talk about in future?
Yeah, I want to see the future battles.
Oh, okay.
That's what I wanted to see. That's why I wanted to see more so from this anime. I wanted maybe to see a couple more episodes where, they're fighting the Green King. I don't even know what the fuck the Blue King's up to. I never don't know what anything to do with him. I know that the Green King is very defensive. I know that the Yellow King is like a Joker type, he likes to play tricks on people. Well, what about the Blue King? We know...
There's the Purple King, too, right? That was, barely mentioned.
So we don't know anything about these kings, and I think the only way we would know is the second season, or the anime is doing this for us to just buy the light novel, which is unfortunate.
But like you said, Vish, you can't really do much with 24 episodes.
The thing is, the reality of the situation is that, 24 episodes is already a generous amount for an adaptation, right? Considering that this is the first season that there is of this adaptation. So I'm guessing people didn't want to take a huge risk from the start, and they didn't, green light 30, 40 episodes that they could have, right? So hopefully we will get a second season. If there is, I would like to see it, right? I like what I see in the first season. I do feel kind of like cock tease, though. That's one of my gripes about this anime. It's that there are quite a few loose ends that they don't quite wrap up or address in the first season. It leaves you wanting more. And yes, like I said before, it's understandable from a business standpoint, but you want the answers to those, right? And that's what will motivate me to watch the second season.
Yeah, I would welcome a second season. I just don't... Here's the thing, it's kind of like wishing, but knowing that it's not going to happen. It's like, I would wish for a second season to kind of
It is hypothetical, right? So if there was, would you be interested?
Yes. Definitely. I do, because like I said, I mentioned that they kind of jumped all over the place with the story. and like I feel like they didn't really know what they want to talk about. So, which is why like I want them like if they were to do second season, I'd want them to kind of like talk about this, like the story of the kings, and like show the Black King killing all of the other kings to reach level 10, and maybe even get a glimpse of the developer, even if it's just a little tease.
One thing I wanted to say, like you're saying, it's very unlikely that we see a second season, but the fact that we've gotten a lot of light novel translations coming over to the West. Yes, it is a 5-year delay from the original light novels, which were released in about 2009. Although I think it's, there is also a possibility that we see another season, because they've recently released the movie. So specifically with Studio Sunrise, and they did announce that they want to do more stuff in regards to Accel World. So I'm not sure if they want to do more OVAs or such. So yeah. So I don't think it's unlikely, but we'll just have to wait and see what's on there. Like at this moment in time, I think it's more likely that we see a second season of Accel World compared to a third season of Sword Art Online. Only reason I'm saying that is because AIC have kind of gone down.
I guess because you kind of want to flesh out more of Accel World before you'd focus more on Sword Art Online again. But then at the same time, like Sword Art Online,
but they're different studios. Like... Sword Art Online is a different studio from Accel World. It's also the fact that studio that is responsible for Sword Art Online doesn't make anime anymore. Hence why I'm saying it's more likely that we see Sunrise just continue, take that opportunity, let Sword Art kind of die it down, and then say, hey, you know what, this is a similar story to Sword Art, written by the same woman, and then take advantage of that, because that's what I think they might be doing.
If they ever do second season, like you said, it's probably likely with the hype that's generated, I hope that it's better in terms of the way they organize the story. Like we mentioned a lot in this episode that there are some issues with the way they handled the story and they adapted it into an anime. But I hope that they handle it better because, they had to wait for the light novels to produce more volumes, more chapters, right? So hopefully by the time that they start work on a second season, there will be sufficient chapters for them to, truly take a look at the things.
thing is, Kevin, the light novel's already finished.
Oh.
Yeah, and the author's working on new spin-offs. Similar like Sword Art Online. The original Sword Art Online run is finished, and the original author is working on spin-offs to Sword Art Online. So it's that sort of thing. So they have the material. So I think the material just ended last year though, Kevin. So I think 2015 was when the last volume released in Japan. One thing I want to know, would you recommend it to a friend? Because personally, I would. Especially someone who's watching anime for the first time. I think it's a great ride. You get to see a lot of action, which is very attractive, a lot of different colors. And I think it's a great anime that leads you into other mediums like manga and visual novel.
Right, like it sounds like the kind of show I'd want to call my friends for, like tell them like, you know what, let's just spend an entire night watching these different shows, and like this would be the kind of show you'd kind of put on a playlist.
That's interesting. So both of you would recommend it to a friend, right? For me, it's kind of weird because would I recommend it to a newcomer? No. I'll explain why. It's that yes, this anime, it's good, but I don't think it's a gateway anime that will lead to more interest in anime in general, because as much as I enjoyed watching this anime, I do not think that there's, in every respect, I think there's some other series that does it better in terms of action, in terms of romance, So if a person were to watch this as their first true anime, all right, they might think that, what's so special about this? This is like the other anime that I've been watching casually as a kid, like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Why would I dwell further into this genre?
In my opinion, I would say Accel World would be the kind of show that would be one of your first anime, but I agree with you when you say it wouldn't be the first anime.
Yeah, I wouldn't use this to convince someone to start watching, right? If you were to ask me, would you recommend this to someone who's already interested in anime, I'd be like, sure, right? I mean, some people will have different views, some people are really, really, they just don't like, cliches, and they don't like this nostalgia that this anime has a lot of, right? So it depends on the person. So I would recommend it. I'd put it on someone's backlog, right? It's not like a must-see that you have to go and watch right away because it's so great. Like I said before, it doesn't particularly excel at any one aspect, but it's still enjoyable. So if you have free time, then you go ahead. It's an enjoyable watch.
Yeah, I've been Bish, and these guys have been Joe and Kevin. You can find me on @GetAlivePodcast on Twitter.
And my Twitter handle is @TheTempestPhoenix, Phoenix spelled Phoenix.
I am @KiboGamer, Spelled Kibougamer.
Another thing that I wanted to mention is that if you guys want to send us a suggestion, because this episode was a fan suggestion, be sure to tweet at us at GALP Kunai. Alternatively, you can send an email to p@galp.pea@gmail.com with your suggestion, and make sure it's underneath 30 episodes.
And not Boku no Pico, by the way.
And not Boku no Pico, and we'll put it in. See? Every time we mention Boku no Pico, the police sirens start turning on. But yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye-bye.
See ya.